towards the fast lane of the 101 North, but traffic seems to be pretty slow at this point. A lot of bottleneck here, which we know LA, it can happen at any time. We do not have a rush hour. The rush can be all day, any day, it doesn't matter. And we see that truck getting a little hemmed up there from the traffic. But again, this is a driver that police are trying to stop. It looks as though that truck making its way into the fast lane. And I was trying to tell, the Sky 9 was showing that silver car there, and it had a dent in it. Maybe that truck hit it, and I'm not sure. At this point, we're getting a point if the driver is actually throwing something out of the window or just making some type of movement. Looks almost as though they're hitting the windshield. Now swerving over. Wow, you can see this motion at the windshield. It almost looks as though this driver is trying to bust out the windshield on this box truck. Look at that. You can see the windshield is starting to, looks almost like it tried to give way there. Not sure what this driver is hitting the windshield with, but we did see a lot of movement inside the cab of this box truck. Again, oh, looks like he's stopping. Right now, joining us on the phone is Darren Wyatt from former Anaheim Police Sergeant. Oh, it looks like the door's opening there of the passenger side. Not sure who's getting out. Darren, thanks so much for joining us. We're watching now as this is unfolding. Not sure if this driver is giving up. Looks as though the driver has a cigarette, got out of the passenger side there, and does not seem to be complying to any commands. If, in fact, officers are giving commands, just lifted out his arms, but really not following any commands that we've ever heard officers give to a driver who has led them on a pursuit.
Yeah, Amy, this is a really volatile situation right now with the driver not complying, reaching back into the vehicle. Officers there do not know what he's doing. They don't know if he's reaching for a weapon. So it's a very tense situation with the officer on the ground, almost like a standoff here. I'm sure that they'd be calling for a canine if there is not one there already, which it doesn't appear that there is. But yeah, very, very tense situation right now, and some real erratic behavior on the part of this driver.
And it really is, we see now that driver getting on the ground. It looks as though he has a cigarette in his hand, smoking. And we're watching this, Darren, and you know, as you see this box truck going, this has got to be especially difficult for officers to stop someone who is driving a large vehicle like this.
Yeah, pit maneuver is out of the question. The vehicle just got too high of a center of gravity, and the patrol cars are too small to actually have an impact on it. And on the freeway, spike strips at this time of day aren't really an option either. So right now, the officers are going to be negotiating with this person, communicating with him, trying to get him to comply with the commands. You can see the one officer there with a shield, other officers there with less than lethal shotguns there to deploy should it become necessary. But really, we're in a kind of a standoff at this point.
I was going to say, Darren, this does not look like this driver is following any orders we've ever heard. Usually they tell them to walk backwards, lift up their hand so that they can see if this person does in fact have a weapon. But it looks as though this person is now lying down on the highway, legs crossed.
Yeah, and this is not what the officers are telling him to do. They would tell him to be face down. He looks like he's just having a casual time out at the beach or something like that. But it is not what the officers are telling him to do. But at this point, time is on our side. We have him out of the vehicle. He's not in a position to go back into the vehicle immediately at this point. So they're going to make their approach right now. As you can see, they've got a shield, they've got an officer providing less than lethal cover, and an officer providing lethal cover should it become necessary. But they're going to take him into custody here, it looks momentarily. So you can see we have a handgun, we have a less than lethal shotgun, and we have a taser, all three of those weapons out there, and now they're taking him into custody. So some really good work on behalf of the Highway Patrol. Looks like they took a really large knife off of him. So looks like great restraint by the Highway Patrol and the officers assisting in taking this subject into custody.
Wow.
You also see on the right side of the screen, they're clearing that vehicle to make sure that there's no other persons inside.
Exactly, and certainly this is a good thing that this has come to an end, because as you were mentioning, you were talking a little earlier that it's impossible to do a pit maneuver on a vehicle like this, and putting out spike strips on a highway. Also, almost impossible because there were just too many cars on the roadway. But we're happy to see that this driver did in fact stop, got out of the passenger side, and didn't exactly follow all commands, but did not seem to put up any resistance to those officers. But certainly a mess, I'm sure, being created on the 101. We saw there was plenty of traffic on the highway this afternoon, as now we know that this highway will be closed for some time, and that will certainly back up very quickly.
Yeah, and with this subject's erratic behavior, you have to wonder if we're dealing with a situation where he's under the influence of narcotics, or if there's a mental health situation going on. You know, kicking the windshield out of the vehicle. We saw at least two separate occasions where there were items being thrown from the driver's seat out the passenger window, some glass breaking on the freeway, etc. But look at the Highway Patrol, this professional job, moving the vehicle out of the way to try and get that freeway open as quickly as possible so that commuters can get back on their way.
Which is certainly great news for anyone that is stuck on the 101 right now, because we know this is a major artery in the area. And so we're watching as officers are taking the suspect to that cruiser, where they will then put him in custody there in that vehicle and take him to jail. And this is certainly good news that this has ended peacefully, no one injured. But it did appear at one point, Darren, that there was a small silver car that had some dent on it. I did not see the actual impact, but we did see a dent on a car that pulled over.
Correct. Other officers will be making contact with that person. The officers were right behind the vehicle, so if there was a collision, and we don't know, we heard that this started as a hit and run. That could have been the vehicle that was the victim vehicle at the very beginning that continued to follow so that they could make contact with the Highway Patrol. We just don't know if that's the original victim or if there was more than one hit and run involved.
I have to think that there was more than one. That is initially why they were trying to stop this driver, was because of a hit and run, and then it appeared that there was another car that was hit in the process there on the 101. We saw the car pull over, and it looks like they're trying to decide where this suspect will go. At this point, it looks like a motorcycle officer that is with that suspect at this point. And I hate to think of what he's doing there on the side of the roadway. But
it looks like they're trying to get the open first of all, and then probably looking for a patrol car that actually has a cage in the back so that they can transport the suspect safely, rather than just having it open back seat, which sometimes we have. And now we also see the canine over there on. Well, those look like pedestrians with dogs on the side of the freeway there as well.
yes, and the best news here, Darren, we are watching as this traffic is now moving along the northbound 101 in Encino after being shut down briefly as that suspect stopped in the middle of the highway and then did get out of the passenger side. Wow, always happy to see that it is a happy ending here, Darren Wyatt, former